So hello, everyone. Welcome to SECAC meeting for November. I'm just going to explain the interpretation and then we'll get started with the actual content of the meeting.
Buenas noches a todos. Es el taller sobre el Comité Asesor de Educación Especial, SECAC. Les vamos a explicar cómo funciona la interpretación y vamos a comenzar.
So we do have interpretation. So we do have interpretation for Amharic, for Spanish, and we were supposed to have sign language interpreters. Oh, we do. I'm so sorry. Thank you. So for our interpretation, down at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the globe for interpretation. On my screen, I actually see the More button. But if you click there, then we can move into interpretation rooms and begin the meeting. Okay, our SECAC co-chairs. I think we only have one person here this evening.
Yes. Hi, I'm Brooke Levy. I am one of the SECAC co-chairs. So welcome. Happy to have everyone here. Amy is not feeling well. Unfortunately, it's that time of year. So I know that she was expected, and I think Jing Feng had a conflict as well. Anyway, I am both a parent of 3 children who have been through, well, 2 who have been through MCPS, and 1 who receives special education services who is in high school. And if you've seen me before on this call, you know that I'm very open to receiving phone calls, or not, well, I should say mostly emails. Phone calls are kind of hard during the workday, but we can always make that work. But at any rate, just receiving feedback and hearing from you, just to know what's going on and getting the temperature of what's just going on with families in MCPS whose children are receiving special education services. Just so you know, I'm also the executive director of the Down Syndrome Network of Montgomery County, and I sit on the MCPS Budget Advisory Committee as well. And I'm advocating very strongly for our group on this call right now.
Thank you so much. And then our MCPS leadership, if you'd like to come on.
Good evening. Hello, everyone. I'm Jada Langston, Director of Special Education Services. Great to be here tonight.
Hello, I'm Erica Williams. I'm the Director for Special Education, Pre-Kindergarten, and Related Services, and I'm also happy to be here with you this evening.
And I'm not sure, but I don't think that I saw Dr. Jones, so we will move on to the next slide. Brooke, do you want me to take this, or do you want to mention anything about the public comment?
I can just say real
Sure.
quick, and then if you have something to follow up on, that would be helpful. So just as you know, folks are welcome to sign up for public comment. This obviously is the link here in the slide. It will also be put in the chat, so you have it easily, so you can easily check it, or I should say click it. So if you have something that you want to share about MCPS with our community, specifically about special education services, this is definitely the platform to do it. Of course, we ask that you do not include personal information about students and families and staff just for privacy reasons. However, we certainly want to hear what's going on. And those comment times are approximately 3 minutes. And when you click on that form, it just takes you to a Google form, and it allows you to put in your information and what your testimony as well. So is there anything else, Mary Beth?
No, actually, I think that's perfect.
Okay.
Good explanation.
Oh, I was going to say, and of course, there's a QR code right there.
Yes. Okay, next slide, please, Derek. So this is the agenda for tonight. Hopefully you all had a chance to look through it when you received the email. So again, we're just moving in through welcome and introductions, and now we're going to move into some feedback on feedback. We're going to hear from Pat Cochran, who is the supervisor for secondary transition. Lots of great information to share with us tonight. We'll have some updates from hopefully some of our community partners are here, and from me as well. And we'll talk a little bit about some future SECAC dates. And then around 8 o'clock, we'll see how the time is, but around 8, our thinking is that we'll have time for some parent engagement with the co-chairs. I believe that Jim Fang just came, so Brooke, you won't be alone. And just be able to have some dialogue. For those of you who are not here in September, we did have a document and people were able to ask some questions. And so MCPS leadership, read through your questions and provided some responses, which will be the next thing that we do. So with the next slide, we'll probably hand that over to Jada and or Erica. And there is a link to the questions and the answers. We're happy to give you time to look through them. And there may be one or two, perhaps Jada or Erica, that you guys might want to spotlight. But at this time, Derek, if we can move into the next slide. And so again, this was the Google Doc from September where you all left some questions. We cleaned it up a little bit because we had, multiple questions that were similar. But overall, we tried to take what it is that parents were asking for. And so here are the questions and the responses.
Our cross-functional teams not only support superficially, we have as a group looked at our student data, multiple pieces of student data, our attendance data, our academic data, our special education data from our state report card, all of the pieces of data that we have. We also look at the schools in our cluster. We have identified those new special education teachers that are within the cluster. So our cross-functional team members, those that are identified as special education, we go in and we work with our teachers, whether it's one-to-one modeling, whether or not it is providing professional development with IEP writing, with goal writing, with present levels writings. Our cross-functional team members also sit in on our IEP team meetings. And they support with the IEP team meetings. They support the team in understanding the various points of the IEP. Also, as a department, very early on, we set goals. Those goals will directly impact the outcomes for students with disabilities, because within those goals, we have identified those strategic priorities that we are looking for in each cluster. So our schools are scored by stars. And within those stars, we have ranks of our students by ethnic groups and also by categories of students with disabilities, our English language learners, all the various subgroups that fall within the population of MCPS. So we have set goals and targets to increase our students' academic or behavioral progress within a school year. So our cross-functional teams are instrumental in not just the superficial functions of a school, but actually drilling down to the goals and objectives and strategic priorities of the students within the schools. The next question is, how are critical staffing one-to-one decisions made? There is a formula there with our critical staffing. It definitely is contingent upon a student's IEP and the needs within the student's IEP. It is led by our fiscal director, Ms. Julie Hall. She has been doing this for quite some time, and there is a level of data that also goes along with these decisions, where the schools actually submit a form for review based off of the information on the student. The IEP team decision making also drives whether or not a student receives critical staffing. Once those forms come up, there is a committee of people that sits on a meeting to consider the information that is being presented about the student and also from the team's perspective, of needing that critical staffing support. And I'm just summing up all of what's in that paragraph there. Our next question, when will special education invest in tutoring for our children? Being new to MCPS, I am not sure what type of tutoring this question went to answer. So if you were the person who put this question in there, because I know we are providing after school tutoring in some areas. I see that there is an answer here for out of school time. We have several different opportunities that our students can participate in, and maybe we need to do a better job of highlighting those opportunities. So if you put this question in the chat, if you can give me a little bit more to go on, and we'll have a better answer for you next time and actually identify some of those areas. How does the boundary study and proposed 6-region model affect special education services and placement options? Special education, since I've been here, is always on the radar. When we are talking about the boundary studies, we are talking about all students. We definitely are working very close with our school leadership team and also our curriculum and instruction team to make sure that special education students are inclusive. The only difference the only thing that may be impacted are some of our programs, like our Learning for Independence and our extensions programs, but we are doing a great job to ensure that within the boundary study, we are not moving programs as of today from specific schools and locations, and trying to ensure that our students' environments remain pretty much the same. We will be able to update you as we continue with the boundary study. This could be one of our topics that we talk about in this particular setting moving forward, if something was to change with our special education students. But we have some very vocal, present parents that have been at all of the boundary study meetings that I've been at, ensuring that our special education students are not being left out of the equation and all of the moves. Why do ALO decisions need to be made so early? Most counties in the state wait until 8. That is a question that I have been asking since I've been here, and this is also one of the areas that we look at, that we're looking at. As you can tell, we have a pretty new leadership team, and a lot of things really aren't making sense to us, and I'm just very transparent about that. So in Louisiana, where I spent most of my career, we called our students DD9s, which means by their 9th birthday, we made a determination on whether or not we would begin to identify them for alternative learning outcomes. It was never identified prior to that. So we are looking to see what MCPS policy says versus Maryland State Department of Ed, and also doing some research and discovery with our other counties as well to match our programming and our needs for our students, because identifying our students prior to the 8th or 9th birthday, in my professional opinion and experience, is really not a good practice. So we are looking into that particular process, along with a lot of other processes that we have been operating under for a very long time. And that is just some resources there to help read about those. What do I do when an IEP is not being followed and the program services are not following through on supports, like checking on homework or upcoming assignments? So one of the things that I want to say, and not to be contradictory of what is written in the answer, you definitely have the autonomy to speak to the case manager at the school. The school administration should be readily available for you as well. There should be a RITSI or extra support person in high school, and we're working on ensuring those other supports go across our elementary schools as well. You also have Miss Jada, who is on this call with us, the new director of special education, who is very well versed in how to support parents. We also have our parent liaison, Miss Mary Beth, on this call that can direct you in the right direction as well. She is also highly intelligent and has a heart for this work. And I really appreciate her since I've been here and have seen quite a few emails that she has sent with questions from parents and support that was needed. We also have Dr. Vanetta Christian, who is our new compliance director, who has also made herself readily available for parents. And if you can't remember all of these names, you can always email me and I will make sure that I transfer you to one of these directors that are readily available and here to support you and answer your questions. I would also like to know why MCPS is addressing gaps in foundational literacy skills, especially in those students who have received instruction in multiple different curricula and have learning disabilities. So I am definitely a fan of CKLA. In Louisiana, we utilize CKLA for about 15 years. We actually started it when it first came out. If you're keeping up with the states and the different rankings of the state, Louisiana, even when I was in school, was ranked 49 or 50. We was always in first place for 49 or 50. Louisiana has now moved up the chain to number 14, being ranked number 14 out of all of the states. I can tell you CKLA has its points where there are a lot of growing pains, but ultimately 3 to 5 years within CKLA, our students do naturally progress and catch up to where it is that they need to be. There are a few supplemental materials that we are able to use for our students with disabilities that completely align to CKLA. So it is not a watered down curriculum, some of those supplemental materials that we are looking into, because when CKLA was adopted last year, of course, our special education curriculum was not adopted with it. So we are looking into that. But CKLA is definitely meant, along with the supplemental materials for our students with IEPs, to close a lot of the gaps. And it has, the research shows it has been very effective in doing that. So we just have to be a little bit patient with CKLA. And as we stack on this supplemental material, you'll start seeing a difference in your children's performance over the next 3 to 5 years. So don't be discouraged. The next question is a great question. Alternative learning opportunities is one of those areas where I just have to say we have utilized it in MCPS in a fashion disproportionately. It is one of the top 5 things that we are looking in as a leadership team. We didn't get here overnight, right? And I know to some that's no consolation, but I can promise you that we are looking into alternative learning outcomes as it relates to our autism program, as it relates to a lot of our extension programs, to understand the historical intent of why we have chosen as a school system the route we have with alternative learning outcomes, and also trying to provide a curriculum where our students are being challenged and where they get to have that academic struggle like our general education students without an IEP, so that we can close some gaps and give them that instructional component that most of our alternative learning students need. We are also looking at our assistive technology for our alternative learning students, because those are the types of resources and supports and tools that we need for our nonverbal students, for many of our students that may be medically fragile, which is one of the presentations that we did this past week on our special populations committee meeting. So again, the questions are right on time. The questions are questions that I myself have been asking, and also making a priority with our teams to make sure that we're unpacking the information from these questions and from the work that has or has not happened, to ensure that we're moving forward differently, to ensure that our students have the best opportunities and educational experiences that we can provide. So I saw some questions in the chat, and just for sake of time, because we're only here a short time, and I'm sorry for jumping in, Jada, and as I always do. But we'll capture those questions and then come back with a question answer session like we just did just now, if that's okay with everyone. Thank you, Mary Beth.
Thank you, Dr. Cage. Appreciate it. So at this point, we'd like to welcome Pat Cochran, who is the supervisor for the Transition Services Unit. And she has some great information to share with us tonight. So Pat, whenever you are ready.
Hi there, everybody. I am Pat Cochran. As Mary Beth just said, I'm the supervisor for transition services, really secondary transition services, because transition becomes part of the IEP plan when your child turns 14. I'm really here tonight to just give you a brief overview, and also to talk a little bit about a new Maryland state requirement for our students on the alternative learning outcomes. So next slide, please. Yep, there you go. I apologize. I am struggling with this horrible fall cold as well. So if I stop to sneeze or cough, I apologize in advance. So what are secondary transition services? They are a coordinated set of activities designed for a child with an IEP. Transition activities focus on looking at the academic and functional achievement of the child to facilitate their movement from where they are now in school to where we want them to be, or where they want to be post high school. Next slide, please. So what does that look like? We start on the IEP at age 14. So if you have a child who is 14 or will be turning 14 within the next IEP cycle, then you've already heard about transition. We start typically in middle school, sometimes early middle school, typically 8th grade, and then we carry through right through until your child graduates, whether that be with a diploma or a certificate. So what does that transition plan look like? We identify students' post-secondary goals. We assess their strengths and interest in relation to those goals. And those goals are in 3 areas. They're in employment, what are your future plans and goals? They're in education and training. What is the education or training required for that goal, to achieve that goal, or a goal in that area? And then independent living would be the 3rd one. We kind of match those courses and experiences to support the goals. We work with students as they prepare for maybe a career technology education program, a lot of our internships. So we work very closely in that process through high school. We support the student through several transition-related activities. And then we help the family, and this is a really important parent part, through that transition process. So everything your child is receiving now is considered an entitlement. And once they graduate from high school, that entitlement goes away and the law changes, and they now are served through eligibility-based services. So we take this 14 to 17 or 18 or 14 to 21, and we help walk you through that process. Next slide, please. It is a continuous process throughout high school, not a one-time event. It is collaborative. You, the parents, guardians, caregivers, are tremendous parts of this process, as are their entire team, their case manager, their counselors, their teachers. Everybody kind of is part of this process. We just kind of manage it a little bit. The student is always the key decision maker. The student is encouraged and expected to actively participate both in the process and in their IEP meetings. So once a student hits 14, we are required by law to invite them to their IEP meeting. Sometimes they don't want to come, sometimes the parent says no, but we really feel it is a perfect opportunity for them to gain more clarity on what their disability is and how it impacts them in an educational setting, and also to learn some of that language to advocate for what they need. You know, I use this accommodation, but I never use this one. Do we really need to keep it on my IEP? Those kinds of things we encourage and support. Next slide, please. So that timeline, we start again in middle school, late middle school. Some of the work there really is on that self-advocacy piece, getting yourself ready for that transition to high school and the changes that come there. Career exploration, as you know, it starts in middle school at this point. So we start that and we continue that all the way through. We're focused on those academics, developing that 4-year plan for high school. In high school, we're continuing with all of those skills, but then building on some independent living, activities of daily living, really depending upon what your child's outcome is, a diploma or that certificate of program completion. We can support transportation, teaching a child how to navigate the bus system in Montgomery County, and then planning for that post-secondary life, what's going to happen after high school. Next slide, please. So this is our model. We have one middle school liaison. Yes, for all 47 middle schools, we have one, but she is a dynamo, Diane Flood. I'm sure some of you know Diane. She is a tremendous support to the middle school teams. So in middle school, the case manager writes that transition plan. It's really that intro plan. But Diane works with all of the middle school teams in helping them develop that and teaching them how to write it so that it is meaningful and that it is compliant. She also works, so she works directly with the school teams, but quite often she works with families as well. For instance, if you are considering having your child apply for those post-secondary services through the Developmental Disability Administration, and your child is in middle school, Diane is typically the person that is called to assist you in doing that. And she does it. She presents to middle school groups. She presents to some elementary groups for that 5th to 6th grade transition, and she will meet parents individually to work on that process. Next slide, please. Now in high school, that changes a little bit. In high school, we are fortunate enough to have a transition support teacher, or TST, in every high school. Some of them have more than one. So if a school has students who are diploma bound in the learning disabilities program, resource program, and they have an LFI program, and they have an SEB program, or SESES, we may have another half-time, typically, TST in that building so that they can really focus on their particular areas. So at that point, we are, actively involved with all of our students, assessing them for those transition areas, developing and monitoring those activities to support that movement towards post-secondary, assisting in applying for those services post-secondary, and also helping navigate like what the best courses for them may be, and advocating for them as well in terms of the coursework in that 4-year plan that's going to help them achieve their personal goals. Most recently, we are supporting students in achieving their Maryland Certificate of Program Completion endorsements. which we will talk about in the next few slides. This is the Secondary Transition Planning Guide. You should be receiving this guide. It is linked here, by the way, so if these slides are shared, you will be able to access it right there. And it is available on the MSDE website in multiple languages as well. So this is kind of our guide. These are the guidelines for secondary transition, what it looks like in the state of Maryland. Next slide, please. Okay, endorsement. So maybe 8 or 9 years ago, Maryland started to include an endorsement option for students as they were graduating from high school. This initially started with diploma-bound students, and there are 2 pathways for diploma-bound students, and these are pretty much set. We've been working on these for a long time. Students are aware of them, and it's just kind of a process in the diploma track. So there is one, college and career readiness. There are various ways to get that. That really is the student meeting. They've taken all their academic requirements. They've taken all the state assessments. They've taken an SAT. They have demonstrated college readiness. And the other one is a CTE, or college and career and technical education, as they've used that as a completer. So it may be going to Thomas Edison or Seneca Valley to participate in one of their career technology education programs, or one of the many, many, many others that are now offered around the county. Every high school has career technology education. If you are not familiar with those, I encourage you to ask your child's case manager, the counselor. They all are aware of what is available for students. So this is linked here. The MSDE endorsement booklet is linked here. That attainment of that endorsement is noted on a student's transcript when they graduate. So they really don't get anything prior to that. Next slide, please. So this is the newest endorsement area. This was rolled out last year. It's the Maryland Certificate of Program Completion, MCOPC, big long name, big long acronym. And this is specifically designed for students on the alternative learning framework. So those students who are working towards a certificate of program completion. It is kind of an extra endorsement of the work that they have done in the 6 or 7 years we typically have them in high school, to demonstrate readiness for post-secondary education, for work readiness and career areas, and community and citizenship. So there are 3 endorsement options for our students on the alternative learning framework. And to earn those endorsements, we are only in our 2nd year. So last year, there was an observation done. Team decided what that observation, which one of these endorsements a student would, was ready to demonstrate readiness for. That observation kind of made that decision. It was discussed at the IEP meeting and then moved forward. So this is our 2nd and final year where it is only an option for our students who are graduating this year. Beginning next year, every student in high school you will hear about this at every single IEP meeting for your student as they're kind of going through. These endorsements, let's take post-secondary education. So there's post-secondary education is the endorsement. There are 7 different standards. They might be their financial, ability, technical, academic, self-advocacy. So all of these different standards, and then aligned to those standards are multiple competencies. So for this year, a student has to, a team determines at that IEP meeting, so yes, parent, you are very involved with this, which endorsement they will work towards. And then they demonstrate those competencies. They have to demonstrate 3 different competencies in to earn that endorsement for this year only. It's a little bit complicated, so it's kind of hard to explain. The attainment rubric is linked down here in the bottom right. I would encourage you to take a look at it. It will be at the table during IEP meetings so that it can be discussed. You will receive information prior to the IEP meeting, and beginning next year, you'll receive, where your student is and what they have done to work towards that endorsement. So a couple of things about it. I apologize if that's a little confusing. I really wanted to just introduce it to you so you know it's here and you know it's coming. It will be, so it is discussed at the IEP meeting, but it is not part of the IEP. Although most of these competencies are things the students are already doing. So work readiness, we're already seeing that. If your child has an internship or is involved in a CTE program or is working on a job site or doing an in-school work program, we're already working on many of these. So we are seeing that, and our teachers are seeing that, oh, yeah, of course he's mastered that or she's mastered that. Right now, I see a question in the chat. Right now, for this year only, a student works towards one endorsement only. That's state requirement. Next year, we open it up to all three. And the beauty is they could earn one endorsement, community and citizenship, maybe when they're 16, and then go work on another one. So they have that potential to earn all three. A parent opts out of this. We do have some parents who do opt out. Last year, we had approximately 130 students graduating with certificates of program completion, and 119 of them earned the certificate, earned the endorsement, and only because the other parents had opted out of having them pursue an endorsement. So what is this all about? Where does it go? So next slide, please. So when are they formally awarded? They're formally awarded at graduation. This information is put on the transcripts. We worked with our IT department very closely last year to make sure that the transcript was amended so that there was room for the endorsements on the ALO or Alternative Learning Framework transcript. It is noted in Synergy. And they also get a certificate of honor. So when you look at that graduation booklet, right, the dark blue MCPS graduation booklet, on one side will be their certificate of program completion. On the other side will be their endorsement certificate. We are thrilled that MCPS is doing this because not every county is. So we have worked really hard to make sure that our students are recognized as any student in an honor type program is recognized. In addition, our students get a graduation tassel. They are bright orange. You can see it on this graduation gear right here. And our students were incredibly proud last year to be crossing the stage wearing their honor tassel. Okay, next slide, please. So their parental input is very important in this. Ultimately, the goal is that lots of people could be involved in this process because we know, state knows, that you see a lot at home that we don't necessarily see in school. So that is the goal, is really to kind of bridge that a little bit and talk about what's going on. What do you see? What do we see? And kind of working together towards this goal of having our students achieve these endorsements. There is a parent information sheet. It is linked here. You should be, if your child is graduating this year, you certainly should be receiving this prior to the IEP meeting, and it absolutely must be discussed at the IEP meeting. And again, we're starting to talk about it to younger students and families as well, just to get ready for next year. Next slide, please. Okay, so one of the other things, and I see that there's some questions, I'll get to those in a moment. So what else do we do in transition services? We work with our students. We assist in getting them ready for those next goals. We also assist with those linkages, linking those services that come after high school. The primary ones are the Division of Rehabilitation Services, or DOORS, the Developmental Disability Administration, or DDA, and Behavioral Health Administration, which here in Montgomery County is Cornerstone Montgomery. And again, it is really important to understand that individuals must apply for these services and be determined eligible to receive them by that agency. And we take all that time from 14 to 21 to assist you in getting there. Next slide, please. A little bit about DOORS. DOORS offers a great opportunity for in-school students, pre-employment transition students, anyone age 14 above, high school, 14 and into college, as long as they have an IEP or receive services in college, as an individual is eligible to receive these services. The nice thing is they offer a wide variety of things. You can take a class on resume writing. You can take a class on work readiness. You can engage in an internship. We in MCPS, Transition Services, we run a summer pre-ETS programs for our rising 10th and 11th graders, specifically those earning diplomas who might not have time to do all the internships and learning how to navigate the transportation. And we introduce them to some college classes at MC. So there are a wide variety of opportunities available through pre-employment transition services or pre-ETS. Your transition support teacher in high school will start talking about this at every one of the IEP meetings. We encourage you in 9th grade to apply for these because they'll be eligible right through high school. We do need your consent. We can't do anything without your written consent. So that will be part of this process as well. Next slide, please. We also assist with the DOORS employment services, formerly called vocational rehabilitation services. And these are typically, we look at these as a student is getting ready to exit the school system and move on. They can provide training. They have some great training opportunities, and they provide employment supports, getting a job, retaining that job. The difference between DOORS, and I'll talk about DDA in a moment, is DOORS is short-term. Once an individual is gainfully employed for 90 days, they step back. You can always step back in, but that is considered a short-term service. Next slide, please. So Developmental Disability Administration, these are those lifelong services for individuals with developmental disabilities, actually intellectual disabilities, because they will ask us for that information. They do want a cognitive and an adaptive score to make this determination. But these are those lifelong services once an individual is out of high school, and it can be community supports, it can be employment supports, it can be personal supports, it can be respite care, there are technology supports, residential, probably not right away for almost all of our students, but down the road, they can also provide residential supports. And this is a very large part of our work for our TSTs who work with our students earning certificates of program completion. Next slide, please. Behavioral health administration. So if your student is in SESCS, one of our emotional programs, or has an emotional disability as part of their IEP, we will always encourage a referral to here in Montgomery County. It's Cornerstone Montgomery. They have some really nice transitioning youth programs, both employment and clinical support. They even have a small residential program. Again, this is specifically for students who are diagnosed with emotional disabilities, but that's another linkage. Next slide, please. And then we have our transition services unit. So, we have a small staff that works out of our office. Next slide, please. And these are some of the things we do countywide. We have an Exploring Careers program, one of my favorites. We're up to about 25 students this year. So these are students 4th year, 5th year. Most of them are students who are working towards a diploma, but not all of them. And this is a supported internship program. So we provide travel training support to get from school to your internship, from your internship home, or back to school, whatever the case may be. And then we provide that on-site support for our students. So we might have 3 students. Kaiser Permanente, for instance, is one of ours. All of their facilities here we work in. And we might have one paraeducator who is working with 3 students who are in different parts of the building, working in different capacities. So we are growing that program as the blueprint requires us to have these opportunities for all our students. And we know that our students might need that little extra boost, that little extra support to get those employment skills. So that really is our intent. We have a fabulous teacher and 2 fabulous paraeducators running the program now. We're adding, kind of moving somebody into that, giving them a little more support because it is a growing program. And then we have our offsite classes. These are our transition training for independence and community career connections. These are classes we have 6 of them around the county for students aged 18 to 21 who are on that alternative learning framework, who have demonstrated in their 4 years at a high school that they are job ready, that they are able to be safe in the community. And then we use this opportunity to kind of enhance those skills. So many of these students are working or in internships that are leading to work. They are traveling supported at first, but most of them learn how to travel independently in the community. And we're also continuing that work to get them ready for those post-secondary, maybe DDA employment supports when they are done. Our summer opportunities, as I mentioned, we have the Doors program. Last summer, we had our inaugural MC College Assistance Day for graduating seniors. It was fabulous. It was at Montgomery College in Rockville, and we were able to provide with our staff and with support from MC's staff, admission staff, really provide one-to-one support to get our students to the point where they were getting those applications complete. A lot of students start that MC application, but kind of get lost in that shuffle of, oh, well, what do I have to do now? And what do I have to do now? So we walk them through that, help them get that done, get their financial aid pieces done, set them up with disability support services. So we're able to do that right there. We had parents come. It really was, it was a very long one-day event last year. We're hoping to grow that this year, but it was really a wonderful opportunity. Next slide, please. So we also have our tips or transition information for parents and students. It is a monthly, mostly virtual event that we host with Potomac Community Resources. They kind of have the platform, and then we do the other pieces to it. We kind of manage it and make sure that we are presenting the topics that are relevant for transition. SSI, we did one on supplemental security income. Our October meeting is always in person, and we had over 60 adult service providers present. For parents, we talked about the DDA process, and parents had the opportunity to go and meet providers. And then this month, it was on self-directed services. We had a parents panel, and December 4th, we have our college night. And this is our opportunity your opportunity to hear from Montgomery College and the Montgomery College Universities of Shady Grove connection. We talk about the admissions process. We talk about financial aid, not only for MC, but across the board financial aid, disability support services. Carla Neighbors, who's amazing at Montgomery College, comes and talks about the graduate transition program, which is a 2-year certificate program there. She talks about the challenge programs and other non-credit programs at MC. And we, for the second year running, we have Terp Succeed coming, which is the University of Maryland 2-year certificate program for individuals with intellectual disabilities. We have many former MCPS students there right now. We're hoping to get some of them to come and speak. We're really excited about that. So, and then we continue on. Februarys are huge. We have 2 in February. Our first one is on guardianship and supported decision-making. And our second one is on trusts and ABLE accounts. So they are packed. They're virtual. So we try to plan it so that it's easier for parents to attend. And we try to make this really relevant to what your needs are. Next slide, please. So as much as we love them and we tend to get quite a crowd, we do understand that some people need a little more attention and a smaller venue. So we have this year started our informal coffees, Coffee with Transition. Tomorrow morning, we're hosting our second one. These are Friday mornings, once a month, from 7:30 to 10:30 drop in. And it really is designed to support parents in completing that DDA application. We try to do it at a different time of day, so it's not always an evening activity, but it is drop in. Our students make the coffee and the baked goods that we have available, and it really is your opportunity to just come and sit. Our entire unit staff come and we sit with you one-to-one. We can work through that application. We can answer questions about transition. We can help you navigate some of these processes. And it's a good opportunity to connect with other families. Last month, it was down at our Spring Mill office in Silver Spring. Tomorrow, it is at English Manor, which is right on Bester Drive, right off Belpre in Rockville. And then in December, we will hold one up at the Up County Center in Germantown, and then we'll rotate through again. So we're trying to get 3 in each one of the areas of the county for this. There is the registration right there. The coffee, where you see coffee, it is also linked to our flyer. So please join us. We would love to have you there. Next slide, please. I think we're just about done. And these are just transition resources, just, commonly asked questions that you may have about different opportunities and services. So there you are. And that is it. Next slide, I believe, is my contact information. Pat Cochran. Margie Parrott is our amazing instructional specialist. She's actually homesick today herself. Margie is kind of our go-to for anything DDA. She has tremendous access to DDA. So if you have any questions about DDA, she really is the person to talk to, or your TST typically will reach out to Margie for some of those questions. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to answer some of these questions.
Great.
Can a student in CCC and TTI programs receive endorsements? Absolutely. They all received them last year. Yes. They can. They definitely work on them. When you say graduation, do you mean a student ages out of MCPS when they are 21? Yes, they do graduate with a certificate of program completion. So yes, that's what I mean. Many students on ALOs choose to graduate with their 12th grade peers and then go on to 12 plus programming. Agreed. Here's what I need to tell you about that. If they are staying in an MCPS program, they may walk the stage and graduate and get a school-made certificate of program completion. However, if they are staying in MCPS, and TTI and CCC are MCPS programs, they are fully staffed by MCPS teachers and paraeducators, they receive that certificate of program completion at 21. We have a smaller graduation ceremony at 20 for our students at 21. So if they're going to another program outside of MCPS, then they do graduate and they take their certificate at 18. I will tell you the endorsements, and this is from the state, not from us, are only available to students who stay until they are 21. Those are the current guidelines for that. So we will see. And you do not have to apologize for questions. I love the questions. Email me, call me, you know how to reach me. Summer pre-ETS programs through MCPS for students on ALO. Not at this point, Brooke, because there is always an interference with ESY. However, we do for our students, we are considering it. We just, that's a whole different grant process. So we're kind of working with DOORS on looking at that at this time. And you will certainly know when we get it, because that is really my goal. I would love to get an ALO summer program in very much like our current one. I think that it would be tremendous, but we do have to be thoughtful given ESY. Okay, that is all I have. Thank you very much for your time, and I apologize for going over.
No. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. I think we will, even though the questions were answered, I think it might be helpful to also maybe move some of those questions to our question answer sheet. And so Pat, that way we sort of have like a running record of questions and responses, because I do think that, there's a lot of information and people are gonna have lots of questions. So, okay, Derek, if we can move on. So that's me. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Beth. I am the Family Support Services Coordinator. This page is really just an information one. It's just a reminder that if you're having some challenges or if you just have questions, oftentimes I'll hear from parents who aren't having an issue. They just have a question about something. That is completely fine. So the goal of the Family Support Center is, really just to involve parents in the process and to ensure that you have what you need. So my contact information is listed there. And there's also, if you'd like to be included, I do a distribution list for some folks. So if you are interested, there is a form there, a link that you can sign up. Okay, the next page. This one, again, the top one is really just a link to the Family Support Center page, and there's just lots of resources on there. When we are having workshops, we'll post them there, so you can get a lot of information. And again, you will get these slides. They'll be posted on the SECAC website, so everything that's here you'll have available to you. I threw in some resources, and it's funny because Brooke and I had a conversation earlier about like particular ones that I highlighted. And I was sharing with her that we often have community members who will share information about their organizations in different workshops. So I was trying to find things that are happening for organizations that don't always come to SECAC. So, and I find out information the same way you all do, right? I look for it. So one of the things I wanted to make available is Special Olympics Montgomery County. They have all of their winter sports are out now, and they are free resources. So, if you're looking for something and you want your child to be involved in an activity, I recommend that you check them out. Pathfinders for Autism is another one of our community partners. They are hosting a workshop. I think you heard Pat make a reference to guardianship. They're running a workshop on alternatives to guardianship. And this really becomes a big deal, I think, as your child gets older, and really just ensuring that you're planning for the future. So again, helpful information. Understood.org, I've mentioned them before. They just have great resources. And during this time of year with progress reports and IEPs, updates and all of that, this link will take you, there's a suggestion to create like a parent IEP binder with different sections, and, just whatever resource you think is something that might help you, I try to give it to you. So that's a link that might be helpful. And then the last one is actually the MSDE resources for all kinds of technical information. They call them technical, but they're like, bulletins or information. And one of the things that's in there actually that Jada shared with me is the updated parent procedural safeguards. So, but this page actually has just a list of really great resources. So, I recommend that if you haven't been to the MSDE site, that you do so. because a lot of helpful information. So because we are short on time, I'm gonna move quickly now to, hopefully we have, I think my next one is just about Dr. Taylor. So our next meeting is Monday, December the 8th, which you all know that we always meet like on the 3rd or 4th Thursday of the month. So this is definitely a change. But Dr. Taylor, like, you know, many people, it's a difficult time of the year because there's budgeting and all of those things going on. So he's available on Monday, December the 8th. And so that is when we will have our December SECAC meeting. Obviously, that's a change, so please write it in your calendars. I will send out a group email. We are collecting questions that you might want to share with Dr. Taylor. Again, my caveat is that he will not be able to answer all of the questions, obviously, but they will all be shared, right? So if there's something that you're curious about or you're wondering, you know, Brooke had mentioned earlier about just the changes in structure, and, you know, I mean, we have a lot of reorganization and things like that. Maybe you have a question around that, but the link is there for you. I think there are 2 questions and an opportunity for you just to put your own thoughts. So that will close though on Monday the 24th so that we have time to organize it, to present it for Dr. Taylor. Okay. And then I think our next slide should be about if any of our community partners here, and I know that Sharon is here from Rockville Rec Department, because I saw her come in. So Sharon, do you want to come off mute?
There we go. Good evening. My logo's not up there. I used to be with MoCo Rec. I am now with City of Rockville. And just wanted to say hi. And in the chat, I did drop my information. Rockville launched a new website in the last couple of weeks. So if things look a little bit different, we are rebuilding the website and it's just organized a little bit differently. A lot of the same information, but we've made things more concise and hopefully easier to find for folks. Our winter guide will be out very soon. Registration is upcoming. We have several family events coming up at the different community centers. So there's cocoa and crafts and dance parties and different things that are coming. So if there's stuff that you're interested in, you know, please do it. I also dropped it. It's program access at Rockville MD. I dropped that in the chat as well. If you have any questions about anything, you are welcome to reach out to me and I will find the answers for you. I didn't see anybody from MoCo Rec on here, but they did start winter registrations on Tuesday. I know that the system crashed. They have worked, it was a national network, it wasn't a MoCo issue. It was a
Okay.
national network issue. And they have gotten that resolved and are doing registrations. So there is, you know, there's some break camps, some kids' day out activities, again, some family things, sensory friendly Santa events coming up in December. So lots of good stuff to look for. So if you have any questions, please just let us know.
Thank you. And again, she's at Rockville Rec. And then do we have anyone, oftentimes we have Melanie from X Minds, but I'm not sure that I saw her today. And okay, Brooke, do you have anything from Down Syndrome Network you want to share?
Just that for families, I don't, you know, it's hard to say who's been here in the past and who hasn't been, but the Down Syndrome Network of Montgomery County generally has lots of both fun and educational activities for the lifespan of a human being, you know, from birth to adulthood, who have Down syndrome. We are now also engaging and we're doing more inclusive programming so that you know, when you go to a school and you're in a program that has children with this or students with disabilities, all your friends don't either have all have autism or all have Down syndrome or all have the same diagnosis. So we are opening up a lot of our programs to it doesn't really matter as long as there's some kind of developmental or intellectual disability to our programs. And so right now we're kind of focused on kind of some fun holiday activities. So I don't have all the educational ones lined up at the moment, but as an example, we have a group going to Zoo Lights. We have an upper teen and adult group going into DC to the Botanic Gardens to learn transportation. So you learn how to navigate Metro and all of that. So if you're interested in any of those kinds of things, please email me. I'll put my email in the chat because we do have a registration system. But we do also have parent and caregiver workshops monthly on specific topics related to people with Down syndrome and other disabilities.
Perfect, thank you. So if you are, if you're a parent who is looking for community organizations that offer workshops, trainings, fun events, these are just some of the examples, and absolutely feel free to reach out to me and I can give you a list of others. All right, I think at this point we're at we're kind of shorter on time because it's 8:12 now. At this point, we would like to thank our MCPS and our community presenters. Specifically, thank you to Pat for everything, and thanks Dr. Cage and Jada and Erica for taking the time to respond to the questions. We will at this point just have some open dialogue time for parents with the co-chairs. So, MCPS staff, you're free to go. We appreciate all of you. I mean, I say it like I'm not MCPS staff, but and then just for the parents, if you're thinking like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and head out, please take a second to fill out the form, the feedback form. We do use this to help us figure out what our community looks like, right? Or do we have primarily preschool parents? Do we have primarily secondary parents? Like, where's the need? And also whether or not, the outcomes were met for you specifically and what your feedback and suggestions are moving forward. And yes, I can post the feedback in the chat.
You want me to do it?
Sure. Thank you. I know I'm trying to work with my phone. For those of you who came in late, I do not have sound on my computer. So I'm using my phone to help me get myself organized. Okay. So again, thank you everyone. And then let's see how many folks we end up with, Brooke, to determine whether or not you're just going to do a whole group or if you want to, bye Pat, thank you. Or if you want to do breakouts.